I snapped. I can invite my ex over. It's my house, too. And that was pretty much the moment everything fell apart. But let me back up, because there's obviously more to the story than just that one explosion. I'm Shannon, 32, and what I'm about to tell you is basically how I blew up my 6-year marriage to a guy who, looking back, probably deserved better. Nathan and I met through my ex, Alex. If you can believe it, back in college, Nathan and Alex were friends. Though by the time I met Nathan, they weren't as close anymore. Nathan caught my eye at a housewarming party. He was quieter than Alex, more put together, like he actually had his life figured out. We started dating, and I could tell there was tension between them. Nathan never said anything directly, but I'm not stupid. I knew how awkward it was for a guy to date his friend's ex. Still, Alex and I were over, and Nathan seemed like the better option. He had a stable job in cybersecurity, something with computers I never really understood. He was responsible in ways Alex never was. Fast forward 2 years, and we were married. The first few years were good. Nathan got promoted a couple of times. We bought a small house in a decent neighborhood, and everything seemed to be going according to plan. I worked in an insurance office. Not exciting, but it helped pay the bills. Nathan made most of the money, though, and with his tech job came long hours and stress. Most nights he'd come home, eat dinner, then disappear into his office to decompress with video games or whatever he did in there. I started feeling lonely, bored, even like we were just roommates who occasionally slept together. And then Alex popped back into my Facebook messages. "Hey, stranger, how's life treating you?" I responded, because why not? We started chatting more often. It was nice having someone to talk to who wasn't buried in code all day. I didn't tell Nathan about it. Not because I thought it was wrong, but because I knew he'd get weird about it. Given their history, I didn't want to deal with an unnecessary argument. What started as casual messages turned into coffee meetups, happy hours, lunch dates. I'd reach for my phone first thing in the morning, hoping to see his name. If Nathan asked who I was texting, I'd lie, "Tara, my mom, someone from work." Alex remembered things about me that Nathan had long since stopped noticing. How I take my coffee, my favorite wine, stories from my childhood that I'd mentioned years ago. He sent me songs that reminded him of me. He asked for my opinion like he actually valued what I had to say. Nathan, on the other hand, he barely looked up from his laptop most nights. I started comparing them constantly. Nathan had gotten so comfortable in our marriage. Same routines, same conversations, same boring weekends. Meanwhile, Alex was still hot, tall, fit, that confident smile that still gave me butterflies. And he noticed me, my hair, my outfits, when I changed my perfume. Nathan, he barely noticed anything. Tara from work caught on when I started taking longer lunches to meet Alex. "Be careful, Shannon," she warned. "This looks a lot like the beginning of something you can't undo." I rolled my eyes. She was being dramatic. Alex and I were just friends. Sure, we had history, but that was the past. Then one night, I gave Alex a key to my house. Nathan was out of town for a cybersecurity conference. Alex came over while I made dinner. He brought wine. I put on music, and we talked until 2 a.m., sitting way closer on the couch than friends should. Nothing physical happened, just a lingering hug goodbye. But the intention was there, hanging in the air between us. When he left, I slipped him the spare key, in case you want to drop by again sometime. The look we exchanged said everything. After that, I got bolder, almost like I wanted to get caught. I'd mention Alex just to see Nathan's reaction. Alex thought that movie was incredible. I'd say over dinner, watching Nathan's jaw tighten. And then one night, he finally snapped. "What's going on with you and Alex?" His voice was calm, but his eyes weren't. I went on the defensive. "Are you spying on me? Checking my phone?" Real nice, Nathan. Real trusting. "I'm not checking your phone. I have eyes. I see how you hide your screen when I walk in. I think you're paranoid and controlling." I shot back. Alex is just a friend. A friend who actually talks to me about things other than computer viruses. Who pays attention to me. Maybe you should try that sometime. The next morning, I was in the shower when Nathan did what I had practically invited him to do. He looked at my phone. When I came out, wrapped in a towel, he was sitting on the bed, my phone in his hand, looking devastated. Miss your touch. Can't stop thinking about last night. His voice was eerily calm as he read the message aloud. What exactly am I supposed to think this means, Shannon? I snatched the phone away. Those are just words. We're flirty. It doesn't mean anything. You gave him a key to our house. It wasn't a question. I froze, realizing he must have seen that text too. For emergencies, I lied weakly. Nathan's expression darkened. What emergency would your ex-boyfriend possibly need to handle at our house? The hurt in his voice was giving way to anger. I want the key back, and I want whatever this is to stop. Now. Today. Or we're done. I wasn't ready for an ultimatum. So I agreed, promising to cut things off with Alex, to get the key back, to work on us. Nathan wanted to believe me so badly that he did, or at least pretended to. I did text Alex, say we needed to cool things down for a while, but I was vague about why, leaving the door open. I told him Nathan was being insecure, and that we should be more careful. Not ending things, just adjusting our approach. Nathan really tried after that confrontation. He started coming home earlier, planned a weekend trip to the coast, even suggested couples therapy. His efforts only made me feel more trapped and guilty, which in turn made me resent him more. The text between Alex and me never really stopped. We just got more careful. I bought a second phone, cheap and prepaid, that I kept in my desk drawer at work. The breaking point came about a month after Nathan's ultimatum. He'd been genuinely trying to save our marriage, coming home early, planning date nights, really listening when I talked. Meanwhile, I was still messaging Alex behind his back, though less frequently. One Tuesday, Nathan called around 2 p.m., saying he'd be home early and wanted to cook dinner together. I panicked because I had already invited Alex to come by after work, assuming Nathan would be late as usual. Instead of canceling with Alex, I spun an elaborate lie about having to work late. Then, as luck would have it, Nathan's meeting got rescheduled. He texted that he'd be working late after all. I felt a rush of relief and immediately texted Alex that we were back on. Alex came over around 6:30. We opened wine, ordered takeout, and sat too close on the couch, watching a movie neither of us was really paying attention to. His arm was around me, my head on his shoulder, positions that couldn't be explained away as just friendly. Then the garage door opened. Nathan walked in, taking in the scene, the takeout containers on the coffee table, half-empty wine glasses, Alex's jacket thrown over a chair. The look on his face shifted from confusion to realization to absolute devastation in about 3 seconds. "What is this?" he asked, his voice deadly quiet. "We were just watching a movie," I said weakly, knowing how pathetic it sounded. "In my house? On my couch? With my wife." "Look, man, it's not what it looks like." Alex started, using the most cliché line possible. "It looks like you're getting cozy with my wife in my living room while I'm supposed to be at work," Nathan replied, his calm more frightening than if he had yelled. I jumped in, desperate to control the situation. "Nathan, you're overreacting. Alex and I are friends. We're allowed to hang out." "Friends?" he repeated, his voice hollow. "Friends don't sit like that, Shannon. I can invite whoever I want over," I said defensively. "It's my house, too." As soon as the words left my mouth, I knew I had made a catastrophic mistake. Nathan just stared at me for what felt like an eternity, then turned to Alex. "I think you should leave." Alex grabbed his jacket and practically ran for the door, throwing me an apologetic glance, but clearly relieved to escape the tension. "So this is what our marriage means to you?" Nathan said once we were alone. "This is how much respect you have for me, for us, for the life we built?" "You're blowing this way out of proportion." I insisted. "Nothing happened." "Something's been happening for months. You've been lying to my face while I've been trying to save our marriage. If you weren't so controlling about who I can be friends with." "Stop." His voice cut through my deflection. "This isn't about friendship. This is about you and Alex and whatever is still going on between you." He took a slow breath. "Are you in love with him?" I froze, unable to answer, which was an answer in itself. "Do you love me at all anymore?" His voice cracked slightly. "Of course I love you," I said automatically. But you love him too. Again, not a question. I didn't respond, and that told him everything. I can't do this anymore, Shannon, he finally said. I'm done. You can't just throw away 6 years of marriage because you're jealous. I said, grasping at anything to shift the blame. This isn't about jealousy. This is about respect and trust, both of which are clearly gone. I fought for us, or at least I told myself I did. But even I could hear how hollow my words sounded. No, you don't, Nathan said quietly. If you did, Alex wouldn't have been in our house tonight. Tears burned my eyes. I can cut him off completely. I offered. I'll block his number, delete him from Facebook, whatever you want. That's the problem, Nathan said. It would be whatever I want, not what you want. You'd resent me for it, and we'd end up right back here eventually. I love you both. I blurted out, regretting it the second it left my lips. I mean, it's different. What I feel for Alex is different from what I feel for you. Nathan's expression hardened. And that's supposed to make me feel better? That you've got different categories of love? And I'm the stable, boring one while he's the exciting one. Why can't I just love both of you? I said desperately. Is that really so wrong? Nathan exhaled slowly. I think you should leave. I blinked at him. What? You're kicking me out of my own house. Our house, he corrected. And yes, stay with a friend. Stay with your parents. Stay with Alex for all I care. But I can't look at you right now without seeing him too. I'm not going anywhere. You can't just throw me out because you're jealous. Nathan's composure finally broke. This isn't about jealousy, he shouted. This is about you bringing another man into our home, behind my back, after I explicitly asked you not to see him anymore. This is about you betraying every promise you ever made to me. Silence stretched between us. Eventually, I swallowed hard. Fine, I'll go, but only because I don't want to be somewhere I'm not wanted. I stormed upstairs, stuffing clothes and toiletries into a bag. When I came back down, Nathan sat on the couch, head in his hands. He didn't look up as I grabbed my purse and keys. I expected Alex to welcome me with open arms when I showed up at his door, makeup streaked with tears, a hastily packed overnight bag at my side. Instead, he looked surprised, more than a little uncomfortable. Shannon, what happened? He asked, not immediately stepping aside like I'd imagined. Nathan kicked me out, I said, my voice cracking. He came home and saw us together and completely lost it. Alex's expression shifted from surprise to something like weariness. And you came here? He hesitated before finally moving aside. Can I stay here tonight? I asked, just until I figure things out. Yeah, of course, he said, though he didn't sound entirely convinced. You can take the bed. I'll sleep on the couch. That wasn't the response I'd expected either. In my mind, being free from Nathan. Finally, it would be with Alex openly, was supposed to be romantic, passionate. Instead, it felt awkward, forced. I thought you'd be happy about this, I said, unable to hide the hurt in my voice. We've been talking about being together for months. Talking, yeah, he agreed cautiously. But I didn't think it would actually happen like this. I didn't think you'd leave him. I stared at him. What are you saying? Alex ran a hand through his hair. Shannon, I like you. I always have. But I thought we were just having fun. You know? I didn't think you'd blow up your marriage over it. Just having fun? My voice rose. We've been texting constantly for months. You told me you missed me, that we should have never broken up. I know, he said, raising his hands in defense. And I meant it in the moment. But there's a big difference between flirting with a married woman and actually having her show up at your door expecting to move in. A sick feeling settled in my stomach. So all of this, the messages, the meetups, that was just a game to you. It wasn't a game, he insisted. But it wasn't this. I never asked you to leave Nathan. I sank onto the couch as reality crashed over me. I'd blown up my marriage for a fantasy that had never existed. The next few months blurred by hotel rooms, desperate apartment hunting, the cold truth of starting over at 32. Nathan, and I only spoke through text, arranging times for me to pick up my things while he was at work. I found a small one-bedroom apartment I could barely afford on my insurance office salary. Without Nathan's income, I was suddenly facing financial realities I hadn't considered. Our joint accounts were frozen, and I had to drain my meager savings just to cover the security deposit. Alex disappeared completely after I left his place. No calls, no texts, nothing. My pride kept me from reaching out. I'd humiliated myself enough. One day, I texted Nathan, asking if we could meet for coffee. We met at a cafe halfway between his temporary rental and my apartment. He looked good, like he'd been working out, sleeping better. "Nathan, I'm sorry," I said, "for everything. For Alex. For lying. For all of it." He nodded, his expression unreadable. "I appreciate that. I made a huge mistake," I continued. "I threw away everything good in my life for some stupid fantasy that wasn't even real." He hesitated. "What happened with Alex?" I let out a bitter laugh. "Nothing. He didn't want a relationship, just the thrill of sneaking around. The second I showed up actually available, he couldn't get rid of me fast enough." Nathan exhaled. Is there any chance at all that we could try again? I know I don't deserve it, but I still love you." The look he gave me was full of both pity and resolve. "I think you love the idea of me, Shannon. The stability, the comfort, the life we had. But if you really love me, not just what I provided, you wouldn't have done what you did." I wanted to argue, but I couldn't. "People make mistakes," I whispered. "They do," he agreed. "And sometimes those mistakes have permanent consequences. I can forgive you, Shannon, but I can't forget. And I can't go back to not knowing that when things got hard, you looked elsewhere instead of turning to me." 3 months later, our divorce was finalized. Nathan moved to Seattle for a new job. And just like that, 6 years of marriage dissolved into occasional social media updates and a box of wedding photos I couldn't bear to throw away. Alex resurfaced 6 months later, sliding into my messages like nothing had happened. "Hey, stranger, how's life treating you?" The same opener he'd used when this disaster started. I blocked his number without responding. The last I heard, Nathan was engaged to a software engineer he met in Seattle. When a friend showed me their engagement photo, I felt a complicated mix of emotions. Sadness for what I'd lost, but also hope that he'd found someone who could love and appreciate him the way I hadn't. He deserved that happiness. As for me, I'm still figuring things out. Still learning to sit with my mistakes without letting them define me. It's not much, but it's a start.